3, 2, 1, go!
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Nerd Legion.
I'm Josh. I'm Jose.
I'm Nathan.
The three of us are back here once again, trying out Discord for the first time. This is definitely quite a headache for me to try, but
A little bit.
Yeah,
it's definitely
me too.
A little bit.
it's definitely quite the jumble. To go into this, first off, the Black Widow movie was dropped, and not short after, there was a controversy with Scarlett Johansson and Disney. What are y'all thoughts about this?
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's a situation for sure. I totally understand where she's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
There's a part of me that I think it really sucks for Scarlett, like what's going on with her. They
Yeah.
knew the movie wasn't going to do as well in the box office because of, COVID-19, and decided to go against their agreements with Marvel. Marvel apparently promised Scarlett Johansson that it would be exclusive to theaters, and then Disney turns around and is like, "No, it's going to theaters and Disney Plus."
Yeah, they did say in contract that she was going to get a theatrical release for Black Widow, but
Yeah.
they also did not express it in that is going to be released on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
But then also at the same time, it's like they don't know how long this pandemic is going to last. So I completely understand why they did that.
Yeah. And it's like realistically, like I get it. Her contract stipulates she has a right to a certain amount of the profits per her contract, right?
Yeah.
But that's kind of ignoring the whole situation being like movie theaters are only really starting to open back up, and it's like you got to understand not many people are going to be going to the theaters because most people are either scared out of their minds, they don't want to go to the theaters because they don't want to risk anything,
Yeah.
or they just feel safer doing it at home, like watching the movie from home and watching it on like Premier Access or pirating it, right?
Yeah, which
Um
happens. So Netflix
yeah.
doesn't share their streaming counts. They don't share how many views a show or movie makes. They don't share numbers on who makes what and who pays what, They don't do that because
I think the big
it's
difference too is that none of Netflix's releases also go to the theaters, right? So
they're
all
heading
of
there.
their, I'm
They're,
sure
they're
maybe at some point, right? But
they made a deal with one of the biggest ones in the States. So they're gonna
oh
go to
yeah,
theaters, yeah. They're working on it. Apparently they haven't been theater worthy yet because the movie theaters don't see them as like theater worthy yet. And then but because of this coronavirus and then Netflix been pushing and pushing, they are making headway. One of the movie theaters, what was it? It was Cine something. It was Cinemax. Cinemax. It's in the States. They had personal deals with Disney, and then they had a falling out with Disney, and they were like, you know what, we're going to Netflix. So
yeah,
yeah, that happened.
right. But Netflix would have had all the stuff with giving their actors portion of like streaming revenue figured out, right? So um
I think so. I don't
but
know.
that's what really bothers me though is like they clearly would have had to do the same thing for bringing their movies to Disney Plus because there's like streaming revenue, right? So I don't know if actors will get a portion of that
Mm-hmm.
or not, but it's like that's what they should have done. They should have sat down with each of the actors that were in these movies that were going to become hybrid releases, if that's the correct word to say.
Sorry. Yep.
Um, and say, okay, well, we're gonna release the movie both in theaters and
Yeah.
on Disney Plus so that consumers have that option. And we're gonna give you a portion of the profits from the theaters as per your contract, and also give you a portion of the
The
profits earned
the streaming
um
site.
from the streaming, right? So
I
yeah,
think that's very fair.
it is fair. because the actors are part of making the movie too. Like they are arguably the most important parts because they act in the movie. They're the
it's
ones that are seen on screen, right? So
exactly. It's put to question if every single actor should be paid for every single content that's on Disney. This includes Netflix, Amazon Video, all of them too. Um, that was the first argument with the contract. There is another argument in the contract that it might be stronger. People are saying that
yeah,
that just because when the contract was made, um, and it says that she gets a revenue from the theaters, right? It's something about good faith,
yeah,
something about good faith. So if I'm following that line of thinking, I'm trying to say it correctly, is just because there was a pandemic, right? And during that time, it should have. Yeah, you're right. It should have. The contract should have led to some good faith with the actress and
yeah,
saying we will change it accordingly because due to the pandemic things are not how they used to be, you know
yeah,
but because they didn't do that, they they clearly went towards an intent of really not honoring her and not respecting the actress and being like all this money is ours. um
yeah. That's not right.
I think and I mean, Josh said it in one of our last podcasts, but I mean, Josh JPEG is a man of numbers. He's not a man of
Bob
really caring.
Chapek.
Bob
I think he
JPEG,
said
sorry,
Bob Chapek, not Josh Chapek.
not Josh JPEG. What, Bob JPEG? Sorry. Yeah,
Bob Chapek. Yeah,
yeah, Bob JPEG. He's a man of numbers. He's not a man of people. That's what a lot of people are saying right now.
yeah. I don't like him.
He's a businessman. He's not a people person.
Yeah,
What can you do with a man's the way he is? I guess I don't know.
a whole lot of nothing is what you can do.
Exactly.
I don't know. You hear all these other times where Disney's embroiled in controversy, and it's like they're going through another bit of a lawsuit right now from I think this is the third time this has happened.
Wait, what?
But you know the Disney Pixar film Inside Out?
Yes.
Well, I say that I'm pretty sure it's the third time this has happened where a another artist, specifically a Canadian artist, is suing Disney because they feel that that movie is similar to their work.
I think you told me about this.
I
I
might
think,
have.
yeah, this sounds super familiar.
This guy had a short called Inside Out that was in the early 2000s, but instead of emotions, they were parts of the body and had
Oh,
to do with like controlling the body and stuff like that, right? But it's the same title, Inside Out, and
right.
there are similarities. He also alleges that the school he went to, which I I think was Sheridan. I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
But some of his alumni went to work at Pixar.
Well, oh, hold on. Inside Out came out in what year?
2015,
So why did he wait so long?
right?
You know what?
That's what I'm thinking. It's like
Yeah.
I think I know what you're gonna say. It's like why now?
Why
Let
now?
me guess. It's because the movie was successful and
That,
he just
yeah.
wants a piece of those profits or whatever. And it's like, come on, dude. It's
Years now. I feel like, see, okay, and taking into account that the courts take a crap ton of time to go through a lot of shit, right? It takes a lot of effort and a lot of time for somebody to go through the courts and make an appeal, right? And then Disney would have to reply to that appeal, or that court case, or serve, basically being served. They have to they have to respond. And so it's, maybe it took a shit ton of time as well. I don't know. We don't know
Maybe.
about that as well, because that is
He-
a case there. Yep.
Yeah. He also alleges that Disney and Pixar like copyright like infringed his story because of the similarities with the main character coming to their parents and talking to them about their feelings. And it's like, talking to your parents about feelings isn't exactly something you can copyright.
No. I mean, a
It's
lot
like,
of movies do that.
right?
Yeah.
It's just I don't think there is much of a case. People are saying, oh, it's the most important Canadian lawsuit. And it's like, and I think I know exactly where it's going to end up, but okay.
Give it a try. You're gonna lose money,
I,
unfortunately.
I think the courts are ultimately going to side with Disney, though, because I think it's really going to be hard to prove that there was significant infringement.
That's
And
true.
again, why now? Why not when the movie was coming out?
That's true.
Right? Because it's already been almost 7 years since the movie came out.
Yeah, exactly.
Why now? But yeah, bringing it back to the Black Widow stuff. Josh, do you have any other thoughts?
I think that Scarlett Johansson is going at this the right way. This is definitely something that I personally would not have to deal with. But I know this lawsuit, she's going to go all in with this because she has literally nothing to lose, because that is her last movie as Black Widow. So she'd rather just get her paycheck and just be done with the franchise.
Yeah.
But then you also got to think, like, I mean, Disney found a loophole within the contract, and Scarlett Johansson's like, no, you still gotta do exactly what it says in the contract. And Disney's like, oh, like, weird. We still did what we said we were gonna do. Like, like, that's how corporate businesses like to loop around the contracts and try to make sure that everything still goes in their favor. I mean,
Yeah.
Disney can fight this, but it's looking like Scarlett Johansson is going to go with their favor, and she's going to get a lot more money out of this, too.
Right.
I think the whole reason Scarlett has a case is because they didn't smooth that over with her. Like, they didn't sign a new deal and say, okay, you get a certain amount of the profits from the Premier Access version of Black Widow. Because if my assumption is correct, Disney gets all the profits from anybody who purchases the movie on Disney Plus.
And that's
she
what
doesn't.
lot of people are saying. Yeah. They're saying that.
Yeah, so it's really complicated. Because ultimately, she did the work. She deserves to be paid for her work.
Definitely.
And it's definitely not a fair situation.
100%. I mean, with this circumstance here, it's definitely, I'm rooting for Scarlett on this. I think the way that Disney was going about it was a little bit shady. I mean, it's understandable, but it's shady because you never.
Oh yeah.
We still technically have to honor the contract, and even then, I don't care if it's still in a pandemic. If it's still following within that contract, at least follow the contract of what it was going to say. Like, if you look at Big Brother Canada, for season 8, they stopped their season, like, not even midway. They were, like, a month in. And because when COVID hit, they shut down for a year. But their contract stated that they didn't redesign the house because the contract stated from Leon's that they still need to show a full season of their merchandise. Hence why they didn't redesign the house, because they still have to oblige to their contract. So hence why, with Scarlett Johansson's case, her, like, pushing through Disney to try to go through all of this, and like I don't care if this is gonna take months. She's not gonna stop until she gets that money, and I'm proud of her
No,
for
she's
that.
not. Oh, I'm proud too.
Yeah,
Some people see it as a as kind of Disney's karma for them dropping Johnny Depp like a rock.
Well, that's something else. I don't know, man.
that was shitty too.
Yeah. I do kind of understand though their reasoning because like realistically Disney wasn't working with Amber Heard. So I kind of get it them wanting to kind of step away from the whole situation, but still it's a really shitty situation.
I feel that.
Johnny Depp is Jack Sparrow. You can't replace Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow.
No,
He's
no, you
synonymous
can't.
with the character.
120%.
I actually finally watched those movies last year when we were in quarantine.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
like recap some of the Marvel movies because I feel like there were some Easter eggs that needed to be shown. Um, but
With just bringing it back to Scarlett Johansson, it really this is way bigger than that. It's so huge, and I was looking
Hmm.
into it a lot because this piqued my interest. It looks like to me that Scarlett does have a good case, has a really good case, and she has a really good argument. Um, and whatever happens, honestly, will change the course of the industry. And this is the reason why. Okay? If Scarlett wins, okay, that means that because right now other talents, other actors are looking into their contracts as well. It's been reported that a lot of other actors are looking into their contracts. Can we sue for this? So they're going like it's huge right now.
Dave Batista also made a kind of a weird comment though.
Well,
He tweeted about it something to do with like, oh, I asked them to make a Drax movie, but no.
that makes
And
no what?
I I think some people took issue with his comment because that seems to imply that if they had made a Drax movie and made it premiere access, he wouldn't have like sued them. That it's like they think he's trying to kind of downplay the situation.
I don't know. It's
I can see his point, like I can see his argument, but yeah, I don't know.
it will change whatever the outcome happens will change the industry. It will change, and not
Yeah.
only for Disney, it will change it for every other platform as well.
These movies when they're going to the theaters and being released on Disney Plus Premier Access, they're going to make more money on Disney Plus Premier Access because anybody can go on to Disney Plus, purchase the movie and unlock it for themselves and then they have it, right?
Exactly.
The theaters, you actually have to go to a theater for like the show times and whatnot, pick a time to go,
Uh huh.
um, figure out how you're gonna get there and buy tickets and everything. And I don't know. It's just it's
It's a
something I
mess.
definitely it's something I definitely miss doing. I really want to do it for Spider-Man. I hope the Delta variant behaves,
I know.
right?
Hopefully, it does a little
Um,
bit.
hopefully, right?
There is a lot of new Marvel content that's like getting released soon. Like a few things. First off, Venom 2. That trailer dropped, and the first trailer, I was like, you know what? It's not quite the best. But the second one really improved from the first one.
I'll need to check it out. I haven't watched the trailer yet.
Okay, I will say when you see the trailer, Woody Harrelson, whoo! I did not picture him as a psychopath, but damn, he delivered.
You know, I think it's funny that Venom has gotten two trailers and Spider-Man still doesn't have one.
Yeah, let's talk about that for like 2 seconds here, okay? Um, for one, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. They have 3 trailers already dropping. and their
And
movie is gonna
one dropped on one of the actors' birthdays, right?
yes, and that was like back in June, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think it's May or June, yeah.
May or June, it's one of the two. So they dropped theirs around May or June. July, August, September, October. Oh, September. Not even 3 months. And we're for Spider-Man No Way Home, they're getting their release drop in December, and we're like 4 months away.
Yeah.
And we still have no trailer. Not even a teaser. I'm like,
Yeah.
Sony, what are you doing? Like, we're basically just waiting for the movie at this rate. I mean, I get
That's
they
what I
don't.
mean though. Like I think maybe because of all of the leaks and rumors and stuff like that, they're pretty much at the point it's like, how do we release a trailer without one, like basically confirming everything? And two, with all the like hype around it, it's like, do they even need to release a trailer? Because people are gonna show up anyway.
Yeah, I think. I mean, Spider-Man No Way Home. It's like one of those movies where it's just like you know there's gonna be a lot going on, but you don't know how to express it without. Basically, there's gonna be fans out there that's gonna like try to ruin the movie,
Yeah.
but it's like Sony is trying their best not to drop it. But I think you can tell that Marvel fans are getting anxious for the trailer. I'm getting anxious for the trailer because I just wanted to see how the trailer is going to look. And then, like, I'm still going to see
Yeah.
the movie regardless. Do you know what I mean? Because that
Oh
movie
yeah.
is going to be just as hyped as Endgame.
Yeah.
So,
It's already hyped so much. And yeah.
so
I noticed that there's like merchandise being released. So
yeah.
if
Sorry, go
there's
ahead.
merchandise coming, then a trailer is probably imminent.
Yeah, like, I looked at my Facebook feed recently and I noticed that Spider-Man is going to be using magic in Spider-Man No Way Home, which confirms that Spider-Man is going to be Spider Supreme.
Yeah.
So he's now going to be Doctor Strange's protege, which is kind of like that in the comics a little bit. But it was more so going to be
Yeah.
Tony Stark's mentor, while Doctor Strange is like the backup mentor. Like if that makes sense.
Have you noticed in Marvel's What If there's like promotional material with Spider-Man as Doctor Strange? Like he's
I think
wearing like
that's
the cape and everything?
yeah, I saw that.
I think I read an article the other day saying that that might have been problematic because of like rights in it and stuff like that, but they
Uh,
seem to have worked around it.
how's that problematic?
Just because that's probably why they didn't have Tom Holland come back as Spider-Man for that show, because that's technically not within it's weird because the Spider-Man rights are weird. Basically, Sony has the rights to Spider-Man in the movies, but Disney has the rights to all the merchandising and the TV shows of Spider-Man.
So technically, they still would put Spider-Man in it because it's part of their TV contract.
And because it's part of the MCU. So that's part of the problem, was because it's kind of going with the MCU Spider-Man, and
Yeah, yeah,
conflict and conflicting a little bit.
yeah. I kind of see your point. Um,
But it
I
worked out. Clearly it worked out. Like
yeah. Like it worked out because otherwise Sony would have let like Tom Holland come back. But even then, I don't think they would even bring all the Marvel actors back for Marvel's What If because they didn't bring
yeah,
Robert Downey Jr. back as Tony Stark for
yeah.
Marvel's What If. Oh, which
Which is mildly disappointing, but the actor they did bring on has played the character before in other like media, so
yeah, they brought back Adrian. I forget his last name, but he played Tony Stark in Earth's Mightiest Heroes and Avengers Assemble. So like he's played Tony Stark before.
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
So, Jose, thoughts?
I wanted to. I keep forgetting to tell you guys, but I'll tell you now so I don't forget again, so I can pass
Okay.
it on the message. Um, I wanted to talk about Marvel as a whole. I think I've seen a few people mention it on social media, but it did hit me before anybody else mentioned it as well that Marvel has definitely mapped out the rest of Phase 4, if you think about it, in sequence too. Like, let's start
Yeah.
with like WandaVision, right?
Yeah.
Like the next movies that we're gonna see Wanda is in Multiverse
Doctor
of Madness,
Strange.
Doctor
Yeah.
Strange, right? So we're gonna see what happens there, you know. So that's the first step in Phase 4. What's
Yeah.
going on with Wanda? I think she has a bigger part to play in the MCU than we realize. I really, there's a part of me that's really convinced that she actually might be the one that will introduce the X-Men. I really feel that way in my gut. So,
Possible.
and number two, I think. And then in sequence was Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And if you notice, there are two movies that align that I feel pretty closely to those movies, and I believe that to be the Marvels
Yeah.
was because of the Scrolls, Fantastic Four, and Secret Invasion. What's going to happen? And then the last step with Loki introducing Kang. Of course, Kang would be the big bad that would be introduced and fought against. I think, and it makes a lot of sense if you think about how the Infinity Saga played out as well, right?
Yeah.
So the Infinity Saga like was building up all the way to Thanos, and Thanos being the big bad, right? Kang being the big bad of this next phase. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So, so I think that's how we're gonna be getting the Phase 4, to be honest. So
Yeah. I think you might be right. Have you seen the there was an article, I forget what place posted it. It was basically saying that anyone could have played Iron Man, and it just completely was ignoring the fact that Robert Downey Jr. made Iron Man.
Basically, because it's like when you have an actor embody a character, you don't see the other actors replaying that role, um, because you know for a fact that when you see their faces, that's how they look like. And hell, like they even like they basically use Robert Downey Jr.'s face in Marvel's What If. So like you could tell they're still trying to use him
So
in
it was
some
like
capacity.
it was a post basically saying that um anyone with wit could have played the role of Iron Man, and James Gunn actually responded to that post saying, "I've seen screen tests. This is bullshit." Like it's like it's completely ignoring the fact that before they took a huge risk with putting Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, and not only that, but making Iron Man like a leading man. Because
Hmm.
he wasn't. But before the first Iron Man film, Iron Man was not what he is now, and neither was Robert Downey Jr.
Nope.
So it's like a good a basically I saw a comment that was saying a good actor could have done it, yes, but it wouldn't have been the same, and the wrong actor would have completely ruined it. The perfect actor was Robert Downey Jr.
100%.
Like Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man. He made Iron Man who he is.
Absolutely. Like if it wasn't for Robert Downey Jr., the MCU wouldn't exist.
Yeah, literally, it wouldn't.
No,
They
and then
they
Marvel would still be bankrupt.
they had sold they would have been. They sold a bunch of their heroes, including Spider-Man and Hulk, Fantastic Four and X-Men and all that, to other companies because they were going bankrupt, and they took a chance on Iron Man, and John Favreau was like, "Yeah, let's bring in Robert Downey Jr." And they were probably looking at him like, "Are you kidding?"
Yeah, yeah, like
Because
Disney was
Robert
like,
Downey Jr. was actually
sorry.
at that point Disney wasn't involved.
I mean, technically, well,
I think it was Paramount that distributed the film.
yeah, Paramount
But
distributed.
still,
Yeah, like Paramount did distribute the film, but like Disney was like kind of like co-financing Marvel like a little bit. Like they're kind of had a little bit of a download partnership, but it wasn't really announced yet. But
yeah, I
but for
guess there was
like
a little bit of something.
yeah, but like when John Favreau like I even discussed this on an earlier podcast, but like when John Favreau was doing Iron Man, he brought in Robert Downey Jr. When nobody wanted to bring in Robert Downey Jr. because he was not on his best behavior during his acting role. Like he was almost blacklisted from Hollywood. He was not doing well at all.
It
Then
was a mess.
yeah, he was a massive mess. So then when John Favreau took a chance and brought in Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, boom, look at him now. And then 10 years
Yeah,
later, he basically changed the face of the superhero genre. And here we are
and he
now.
changed his
And
whole life. Like his whole life is different because of it, and it's this amazing like reality and fantasy are basically one and the same in this context because both Tony Stark and the actor Robert Downey Jr. both had their lives massively improved
yeah,
all because of this.
yeah. And you can tell, and that's why, like, the Marvel movies now are never going to stop because
Mhm.
thanks to Robert Downey Jr., Marvel got almost all their properties back. They're only missing they're only missing two things. Actually, wait, hold on. Let me think. They're missing two rights back. They are missing the Hulk solo film rights, and they're missing the Namor solo film rights. They got Namor back, but they're still missing the solo rights from both of them because Universal has them. Not that we need a solo film from Namor because no one really cares. But for the Hulk solo films, that's when it's going to throw a little bit of a wrench, but it's not too bad.
No. Well, because they have a loophole that can work around Hulk.
Yeah, which is basically you put Hulk in only
A team up
Avengers-based
movie.
movies. Yeah, which is fine.
Avengers based movies or movies where Hulk is not the solo character, like Thor Ragnarok, for example.
Which was definitely perfect, and I think that was the perfect comic accuracy of the Hulk.
Yeah.
But
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 even with Spider-Man though, they have a finite amount of things left to have Spider-Man in where they share the rights with Sony. And then it's like what happens then because Sony isn't going to sell Spider-Man to Marvel anytime soon.
well, the thing is this right now with the Spider-Man rights. Currently, Marvel and Sony have something really good right now. Marvel basically saved Spider-Man from losing its entire popularity,
Yeah.
but the only thing that's obviously concerning, they only have Tom Holland has one more movie in his contract, one more solo film, and then that's it, and that's Spider-Man: No Way Home. So, which means once this film is over, Sony can either renegotiate the contract or they get Tom Holland back. But here's what I think they're gonna do. I
See,
think with
I think Spider-Man had one more solo film and one more team up film left. I think.
I think you're right because they did sign up for three solo films and three Avengers team up films. So I think he has one more team up film in his contract.
We have to look into it.
We're gonna have to, yeah. But I'm pretty sure that like with this film, I think they are gonna find a way to put Spider-Man into the Venomverse. In this case, putting in Venom and Carnage, which I see, like now I kind of see Venom doing a Venomverse, or in this case a Symbioverse or something like that, because
Yeah.
that alone could be set up as its own story arc, but it needs Spider-Man right in it because there's so many Venom-based characters. You have Scream, you have uh you have Carnage Venom, you have um the white one. I forget the name of that one. But there's a bunch of different symbiote based characters. So really, if they wanted to create a story arc based off of those characters, they potentially could. But they're gonna need but they're gonna need Spider-Man to be a part of that. Obviously, obviously with Sony, they managed to figure out a way to create a story arc for just only Eddie, but not Spider-Man. I mean, it worked out okay. I just felt like it it could have been established better. Yes, Venom was basically a rough setup of a 2008 Marvel movie, but other than that, it was somewhat okay. Venom 2, I think, is
Yeah,
going to be better than the first one.
most likely.
Yeah.
There's
Uh,
hoping at least. Did you
uh,
hear about the new deal between Marvel and Sony for streaming?
I heard about Disney and Sony met up and they agreed to put the Spider-Man films on Disney Plus.
Yeah. So it puts No Way Home into a weird place because I
Right.
think it says here starting in at the start of 2022 um Disney will have access to theatrically released Sony movies and put it on Disney Plus basically. So um they would have like older Spider-Man movies as well. So they would obviously get Homecoming and Far From Home, but No Way Home because No Way Home comes just a couple weeks before that deal officially I guess starts.
Yeah, so
I guess No Way Home is put in kind of a weird scenario.
I don't think so. I just think it's just not going to be put on a streaming site until after the deal in 2022, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. I just think with the Sony movies that Disney's going to get, they're going to get the Spider-Man films, they're going to get the James Bond's movies before No Time to Die because that one is being owned by MGM. There's going to be what other
It says
Sony
here as
properties?
well. Sorry. It says here as well that the agreement comes the same month Netflix scored a deal with Sony to be the first place to show Sony's new movies after they run in theaters and in home formats. So basically, Netflix will be the first place like No Way Home would go to Netflix first after it's been in theaters and home formats.
Which makes sense.
And then after it eventually like leaves Netflix, it would go to Disney Plus
Yeah,
eventually.
yeah, this is now basically a game of who owns what. Can't like just
Yeah,
all of like TV or film companies like just put all their properties onto one streaming service and then make it just hella expensive.
that's
Like
basically that's basically how Netflix used to be. It had a bunch of stuff from all these different companies together. There was only a couple streaming services at the time.
yep, and
A
then
bunch of streaming services, and all their content is siloed off to each of those individual services.
yeah, and then Disney Plus happened, and now um HBO decided to take a piece of that, and then
Yep.
Hulu decided to take a piece of that. Whether what other streaming services? Amazon Prime wanted a piece of that, so and Apple TV wanted a piece of that. So there's already a bunch of separate streaming sites that want to make their own properties. Um,
Because
sorry, let me.
and a lot of these other companies are kind of copying Disney's marketing strategy for Disney Plus.
Yep,
Because they had when Disney was marketing Disney Plus, they had their most prime properties at the forefront, right?
yeah,
So, for example, Paramount Plus, which was just a rebranding of CBS All Access, they had
hmm
all their properties like basically at the front lines, promoting their service. I do say that Disney had a smart idea because they advertised saying like Disney plus Marvel plus Star Wars plus National Geographic.
Hmm.
Plus Pixar as well. I think I missed that.
Yeah.
Either way, it was at the forefront. But I remember seeing like at a Disney investor thing, they had like a huge like billboard or something where it had like literally all their properties divided in like images,
Hmm.
like the giant images, but it really spoke volumes as just how much Disney actually owns. I was like, oh my god,
Yeah,
like, they literally
100%.
own all that. Like one of the most powerful companies in the world, and it's like, oh
Yeah, yeah. Basically, Disney is changing the game, but Netflix is still the front runner. I I
yeah,
think that by around like 2050, cable's going to be done. Because at this point,
yeah,
like, because right now at this point, everybody is just going wireless. So once we're at that point by 2050, I think everything is going to be there's going to be no more cable TV. There's going to be no more connected to channels anymore. It's just going to be all streaming services, and it's all going to be wireless. And if you have a disconnected Wi-Fi, oops.
yeah. Like I was having this morning.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, yeah. Disconnected Wi-Fi sucks. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I think that's all the time we have for today. Thank you guys for watching. Have yourselves a great night or day whenever you're watching this. I'm Nathan,
I'm Josh.
Jose.
and we'll see you guys in the next video. See ya!
Bye.
Bye.